On this episode of the Sports Rivals podcast, post free agency mock drafts from both me and Segev. The Giants make some splashes in free agency, and upset galore in March Madness. Welcome to the Sports Rivals podcast, where two friends who root for rival sports teams talk about the league. I'm your host, Daniel Lee, and this is my co-host, Segev Sharon. How are you doing today, Segev?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Today we got a lot to talk about. We got mock drafts coming up, post free agency mock drafts, and we're gonna do one each. So it's gonna be me and Segev, and we're just gonna go back and forth and talk about each pick for each team.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of needs were addressed in free agency, so the picks are going to be looking a bit different for what you've seen from general sports media.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The first pick, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think this is just a general consensus everywhere. It's like Joe Burrow last year. The Jaguars are gonna take Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I had that in mind too. Pretty obvious. Big, strong, athletic, great passer, great vision. What you need in a quarterback today.
I mean, that's what they did. Tank for Trevor. Okay, now we got our second pick. This is a little more interesting, and this depends on how you view the quarterback rankings or how you view the Jets' direction in general. So with my pick, I picked Zach Wilson, quarterback out of BYU.
Yes, I did too. I think he's a great player. He reminds me a little bit of a mini Patrick Mahomes, the way he can scramble out, throw off balance, really just elite arm talent. Smart. Chris Sims is a huge proponent of him, and he has him as his number one quarterback in the class, which was a shock to many. But it's actually not out of the realm of possibility because Wilson is that talented.
Yeah, and we saw Chris Sims' rankings from the past 3 years, and he's been pretty accurate, even with the hot takes with Justin Herbert. Okay, so yeah, Zach Wilson, obviously just elite arm talent. He's got a huge arm. He can distribute the ball, and he could do that in New York. Under Matt Lafleur,
Mike LaFleur,
Mike Lafleur's new
Matt
offense.
LaFleur's brother.
Yeah, Matt Lafleur's brother, Mike Lafleur's new offense, and they added Corey Davis. They have Denzel Mims, and they could still draft some weapons too. So watch out for that.
Yeah, and the knock on Wilson is at his competition level and his injury risk because in the past 2 years he wasn't a great quarterback really, and he had a lot of injury problems. And they even opened up the quarterback competition before the year this year to see if he can maybe be replaced. But obviously he wasn't, and
Yep.
he had an elite year for them. So
Yeah, he
that's how
stepped
you
up.
bounce back from adversity, and that's what I think a lot of NFL teams will like that and not see that as a weakness, but the competition level is obviously something that's a bit important, considering the fact that Carson Wentz came from that and Josh Allen. But they proved that it doesn't really matter. So hopefully Wilson can do the same for the Jets.
Okay. Now going into the third pick, we have the Miami Dolphins pick via the Houston Texans. So Segev, why don't you say the pick first?
Okay, so I had the Miami Dolphins take Penei Sewell. I think he's an elite offensive tackle, big, strong, athletic. A lot of people are calling him a generational talent. I don't agree with that, but I think he's an elite O lineman and definitely worth the pick.
Yeah, and with my pick, I have a little something more interesting. So last episode on the Sports Rivals podcast, we talked about how the Broncos might even trade up or might even trade down. So with my third pick, I traded up the Broncos to the third pick and then traded down the Dolphins to the ninth pick. And with the Broncos' third pick, I took Justin Fields. So with this pick, obviously, it's just a pick you can't really pass up because quarterbacks are falling quick from this what's happening in this mock draft, and I think that Justin Fields is someone that the Broncos could look at to have some competition with Drew Lock in the offseason and potentially start over Drew Lock. Justin Fields, he's a great distributor. He had like one or two bad games against Northwestern
Northwestern and Indiana.
Indiana, yeah. He had two bad games, but he looked amazing in the national championship game against Clemson.
No, that
And
was the
oh,
semifinal.
semifinal,
Yeah,
and then they lost.
semifinal.
They lost to Alabama, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but Justin Fields looked amazing in that semifinal against Clemson, and he outdueled Trevor Lawrence that night. It could have come down to weapons, but I really like Justin Fields, and although he's my fourth ranked quarterback, I think Justin Fields fits best with the Broncos compared to Trey Lance.
Yeah, I mean Fields is the perfect guy for the Broncos, I think. But if they really do this move and trade up, I think it shows you what they think of Drew Lock. Because you don't trade up with the intention of sitting him. So I think that Fields will ultimately get the starting job at one point or another in the season if they do this move.
Yeah, it's just something I feel like the Broncos need to do. I feel like they can't just sit back and just take another pick because like our window is actually kind of small because our defense is set. Like our defense, this is the best defense we've had since our Super Bowl defense, in my opinion. We signed Kyle Fuller, we signed Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby. We re-signed Kareem Jackson, which we'll get to later. We brought Justin Simmons back. We have an elite pass rush coming back with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, and this is something you can't pass up. And even last year, the defense was actually amazing. Their red zone defense was one of the top in the league, but they just couldn't capitalize because Drew Lock just kept throwing picks. And I don't think Drew Lock is going to improve to the extent that the Broncos need to compete. So I think this is just something the Broncos need to do. Okay, so now we're going to go into the fourth pick with the Atlanta Falcons. So with my pick, I took Trey Lance to the Atlanta Falcons.
I think Lance is a great player. I just don't see them taking a quarterback in my eyes because I think they just restructured Matt Ryan's contract and they added 2 years for him of guaranteed money. So I think that's a bit of a head scratcher in my opinion. But for me, I had them take versatile weapon Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida. I think he's the best offensive player in the draft, pound for pound. I think he could be better at his position than Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. I think Kyle Pitts has the potential to be one of the best tight ends of all time. He's athletic. He can run routes. He can block. He can catch. He basically is a do-it-all tight end. Elite weapon, speed, route running, everything. I think any team that drafts him is going to be happy. And normally, there's the value for tight end isn't that high, but he's much more than a tight end. He can play outside receiver. He can play the slot everywhere. Florida used him in many different packages, and I think a comparison for Kyle Pitts is like a Mike Evans, Darren Waller hybrid. He's that
Yeah.
good,
Mm-hmm.
and coming into the league, I think he can be that good.
Yeah. The thing about okay, so you obviously talked about how Matt Ryan got his contract restructured. So it looks like they're not
Yeah,
going to take a quarterback. But in my opinion, this is one of the top quarterback classes in the past few years, and this I just feel like the Falcons can't pass this up. Like they have to build for their future. Obviously, Matt Ryan is getting older. Obviously, they still kind of believe in him, which is kind of questionable. I mean, we'll see how they do this year, but Atlanta choke. But I think just it's just a talent you can't pass on. And obviously Kyle Pitts is a massive talent and I'll have him soon pick two, but I don't know. I just feel like they should take a quarterback here because their weapons are good. I feel like with the weapons they have now with a very good quarterback, which they did a couple years ago when they choked to the Patriots, but they have Julio Jones, they have Calvin Ridley, they have Hayden Hurst, and I feel like that's enough. And with a good quarterback, I feel like they could go far.
I agree. Also, another thing to point out, they won't be picking that low or that high, I should say, for a very long time.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is why you draft a franchise QB. But I think the extension of Ryan and the new wave of winning when your quarterback is on a rookie contract is just going to delay the process a bit. And you don't really want your guy sitting for 2 years. So we'll have to see what they do.
Yeah, we'll see what Arthur Smith's new offense could do for them. Okay, with the
Yeah.
next pick, the Cincinnati Bengals, and this is where I have Penei Sewell going. Offensive tackle, obviously elite. Protect Joe Burrow. That's it for me.
Yeah, I have the next offensive tackle off the board, Rashawn Slater. We saw what he could do against Chase Young 2 years ago. He opted out last year, but 2 years ago he really shut down Chase Young against Ohio State. He's a bit undersized for the tackle position, but that shouldn't matter because if you can block, you can block. And I think that's the primary need the Bengals still have. They signed Riley Reef, and it was like, all right, Riley Reef, come on, it's Riley Reef. He was cut for a
Mhm.
reason. Get Joe Burrow some protection.
Yeah, honestly, it pissed me off last year watching the Bengals call those kind of deep routes for him, and then just watch him get killed over and over and over again. Like I remember watching Browns Bengals, and Miles Garrett absolutely destroyed Joe Burrow like throughout the whole game, and it wasn't even fair for him. Like they have their guards are like who they have. They have Jonah Jackson. Uh, that's like it.
No, Jonah Williams.
Jonah Williams. That's it. Like they don't really
Yeah,
have. They
it's
don't have any. They have someone named Michael Jordan starting at guard. Like
yeah.
I really don't. I really don't see their O line doing anything. And there's a lot of mock drafts out there. Like I saw Mel Kiper's most recent mock draft 3.0, of them taking Kyle Pitts. But honestly, I don't really think that matters if your O line really can't do anything. So I feel like this is something they really need to do, like draft a tackle, or I'm gonna be pretty pissed.
Yeah, Burrow's an elite processor. You got to give him time to process the field.
Yeah,
It doesn't help if he has 3 seconds to throw the ball, 2 seconds to throw the ball. No one can do anything at that rate, you know?
yeah, it's that line is actually like non-existent.
It's
Okay,
garbage.
yeah. With the next pick, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. And no, they were an interesting team this year. They had a lot of drama going on. And this was for me between Kyle Pitts and Devontae Smith and Jamar Chase. And ultimately, I went with Devontae Smith. I feel like, although this is not the pick I would make, I feel like this is the pick that the Eagles would make. And I feel like, he's been hyped up. He won the Heisman. But I feel like he could thrive under that offense with Jalen Hurts. Obviously Jalen Hurts has some questions. He played well last year, but I feel like that's a little clouded. But I feel like Devontae they need a wide receiver one, and Devontae Smith fits that narrative.
Yeah, I also had them going receiver. I had them going Jamar Chase. People forget Chase opted out this year, but last year he put up almost 2,000 receiving yards with 19 receiving touchdowns. And he would have been the Heisman if it weren't for Burrow. Um, he's an elite weapon. He put up the same numbers Devonta Smith did. This year, Devonta Smith was 22 years old. Jamar Chase was running through the SEC best defenses in the country at 19 years old. He's a very physical receiver, great hands, and he's excellent after the catch. And he just fits the mold of a number one guy. So I think that's what the Eagles need.
Yeah, if you remember that year with LSU, they had so many receivers, and he was still one of their best receivers. They
The
had Justin
best.
Jefferson. Yeah, they had Justin Jefferson. They had who they have Terrace Marshall. Yeah, so that room was absolutely stacked, comparable to like Alabama's stacked room. And but I feel like the Eagles will take Devontae Smith. That's
You
just my
think
feeling.
so?
Yeah, that's my gut feeling. Okay.
I can see that happening. I
Yeah.
definitely can.
Yeah. Obviously with the hype, I feel like that's something.
Yeah.
And we'll see after today's pro day with is he
He
participating?
didn't participate. He didn't participate
Okay. I think he's
because
participating
of
in the
injury.
I think the next one he might.
I
But
think.
we'll
Let's
we'll
hope. I
see.
want to see him run.
Yeah. We'll see. Okay, so with the next pick, we had the Detroit Lions, who, had an interesting offseason with the Matt Stafford trade. So with this pick, I picked Jamar Chase because obviously I feel like he's the best receiver in the whole class. He's been hyped as the best receiver as the whole class since like last year because obviously the performance he had last year with Joe Burrow. But yeah, this makes sense with the Lions. They just lost Kenny Galladay. And yeah, they just need a wide receiver one for Jared Goff to throw to. So yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, I have the Lions going with Jalen Waddle, receiver from Alabama. Waddle was the less hyped Alabama receiver, but he's the better Alabama receiver.
Yep.
More speed, better hands, elite route runner. People just think he's a deep threat, and they're going to be scared that he's the next Henry Ruggs. But he can catch, he can run routes properly, and he punt returns really well. Excellent on kickoff and punt returns. Just big playmaker. Um, I think Chase is a little bit better than him. It's like a 1A, 1B situation. But Jalen Waddle, I wouldn't even consider him a consolidation prize. I think he's that good. He can break the game open in the mold of like a Tyreek Hill. He's that insane. He really is something special.
Yeah, and we have to remember before Jalen Waddle's ankle injury that devastated his season, he was the Alabama receiver. He was going off with Mac Jones as his quarterback, and he's just so fast, man. I remember watching him play. Actually last year with Jerry Judy and Henry Ruggs on that team, and Jalen Waddle was just picking apart defenses with his speed and his ability to catch. So obviously, yeah, he's also my second ranked wide receiver in this class.
Yeah, people forget he outperformed Devonta Smith before the injury. He had better statistical numbers and he just took over games.
Yeah.
So the injury really opened up Smith's Heisman campaign, but that's a different story.
Yeah, obviously, wide receiver fits the Lions because they lost their receiver Kenny Galladay, and they need something on offense. They need to spice it up. Okay, with the next pick, we have the Carolina Panthers, and with this pick, I have Kyle Pitts. He's just so good. Like you said before, he's so versatile. He can line up anywhere on the field as a receiver, and he can run. He's very fast. He's honestly not that bad of a blocker. He's not that bad, and you know, like you said, he's a generational talent. That's something you can't pass on.
Yeah, I had the Panthers going with Trey Lance. Um, So Teddy Bridgewater isn't the guy. He's a very solid player, distributes the ball well, but he doesn't make plays. He's just very average. I think Trey Lance, bringing him in with Joe Brady really opens up the offense because you can run a run first offense with McCaffrey and him, but then also have Lance throw it all over the field. So I think they can really run the 2015 Camp Newton offense with Trey Lance because he's a power runner, very strong. We talked about this last week. He really just knows how to make plays, you know?
Yeah. Um, Honestly, with why I didn't take a quarterback, well, first of all, four quarterbacks are off the board, and I feel like those are the only four viable quarterbacks you can take in the top 10. And second of all, I feel like the Panthers are going to make a trade here anytime soon. I feel like they're going to trade for a quarterback depending on how this Deshaun Watson situation unfolds. But I feel like the Panthers are a very probable destination for the
For
Panthers.
Watson.
Yeah, for Watson. I feel like it could happen. And if that happens, obviously you have to get him some more weapons. Obviously, they already have Robbie Anderson. Um, that's
DJ Moore.
yeah, DJ Moore. And bringing Kyle,
McCaffrey.
yeah, McCaffrey,
McCaffrey?
dude, he was hurt last year. I totally forgot about him. And then yeah, bringing Kyle Pitts would open up that offense so much more and actually give weapons to that team. Yeah, and obviously,
Yeah,
Trey Lance, yeah, that makes so much sense if he falls there. And honestly, I could see them trading up too to take a quarterback.
me
Okay,
too.
yeah, with the next pick, this is where I had the Dolphins trade down from the Broncos pick. And with this pick, I took Rashawn Slater. I feel like the Dolphins, they need a little more O line help. Obviously they drafted Austin Jackson last year, late in the first round, and I feel like he's more of like a developmental tackle. And on the other side, you have Robert Hunt, who played guard, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like they need like Rashawn Slater in there, just like a top tackle talent, to go in there and actually help Tua like survive. Um, yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense to me.
Yeah, so I had the Broncos at 9 still here. I have Justin Fields falling to them here.
Mhm.
So I think they just get a little bit more value here. Um, I think he is the guy for them. I with Fields falling to them here, I still think that there can be an open QB competition with Locke, but I think Fields will ultimately end up winning that because he's very talented, rocket arm, and maybe he can replicate what Herbert did with the Chargers because everything is in place for him on that offense. Solid line, elite left tackle, young developmental receivers, Cortland Sutton coming back, great tight end. He has everything in store there to succeed. So he just needs to put it all together and win them some games.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, that Justin Fields, obviously I picked Justin Fields too, but you picked that 9. But it totally makes sense to me. And I feel like the Broncos definitely need to draft a quarterback this draft, whether it's Justin Fields, Trey Lance, or even later in the rounds, or like maybe in the second. I don't think he'll last the second round, but maybe they could trade down and take Mac Jones. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
also
okay, yeah,
with
you can
the
go.
with the Fields pick at 9, I don't like it's realistic that he falls there
Mhm.
because okay, Jaguars, Jets get their QB, Dolphins maybe if they want to get rid of Tua, Falcons could potentially take him. They could, but I didn't have them taking quarterback. The Bengals won't take a quarterback. The Eagles might take a quarterback.
They might.
Um,
That's
they
interesting.
might.
That's very
They could
interesting.
take a quarterback. I think the Eagles fans won't be happy with that, but QB factory over there in Philly. But I don't think I don't know. I just don't see that happening. I think Fields falling to Denver is very realistic and could happen. So look out for that, Broncos fans.
Honestly, if Justin Fields falls to that far, I feel like the Panthers have to take him. I feel like the Panthers
Over
will.
Lance?
Yeah, I think they will. I think they will, and I feel like the Broncos will end up with Trey Lance, which honestly is not a bad consolation prize for the Broncos. But I feel like the Panthers will take it, and I feel like a lot of Panthers fans also want Justin Fields, which I saw, which is very interesting. Okay. With the next pick, the 10th pick, we have the Cowboys. And with this 10th pick, I have Patrick Surtain. Well, I feel like
Yeah, I do
now,
too.
yeah, I feel like now this is established that he's going to be the first corner taken off the board. Today we found out that yesterday we found out that Caleb Farley has an injury and that he
Yeah.
got surgery. And Patrick Surtain, which we just saw his pro day today, he ran a 4.46,
Yeah.
which yeah,
Great. It's a win for him. It really is
yeah.
a win. Because on tape he
He's had
looks a
speed
bit
concerns.
slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like with those speed concerns, he kind of wrapped that up today with his pro day 40. And yeah, he's just such a good corner. Obviously, corner is a little iffy. It takes a while for corners to develop in the NFL because it's such a hard position. But I feel like this is a pick that the Cowboys need to do. They boosted their secondary a little bit with Keanu Neal signing in the offseason, but they need a lot more corner help and a lot more defensive help.
Yeah, they're bringing back the Alabama corner room from 2 years ago.
Yep. Okay. With the next pick, I have the New York Giants taking Jalen Waddle because he fell here. Who do you have?
I have them taking Jalen Phillips.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. That's actually interesting. Okay, first I'm gonna go into my Jalen Waddle pick. I feel like the Giants, obviously they signed Kenny Galladay, but their second best receiver is who? Like Sterling Shepard. I mean, he's
Yeah,
solid, but like
Darius Slayton.
Darius Slayton, dude, they need to build that offense, and I feel like in order for Daniel Jones to succeed, he needs all the weapons he can. Obviously, he didn't look that good last year, besides his mobility, which he flashed in a couple of games, but they need weapons, and I feel like this is the window for them to kind of compete now with their defensive signings, which we'll get to later. But yeah, I feel like the Giants need to take a weapon here.
Yeah, so I had them going Jalen Phillips because I didn't really see a really great edge rusher for them last year. I think Phillips is the best edge rusher in this class. He has elite pass rush moves. He fits their defense. The concern with him is injury risk, but in UCLA, it's kind of like a soft school, Pac-12, California. In Miami in the NFL, if you get a concussion, you sit a week and then you come right back. So I don't think that should be a concern. Um, I think he'll be a really great player in the NFL. He has elite pass rushing moves. He can stuff the run as well, and he really took over games for Miami late in the year last year. So I think he really deserves this pick, and I think you'll start to see him rise up on draft boards even more.
Yeah, I don't know why he's not getting hyped as much as he should be because this dude is really good, and I feel like he's the top talent. Before it was like Greg Rousseau or like Kwity Paye, but and even Mel Kiper had the Giants taking Kwity Paye here, but I definitely like Jalen Phillips more. Um, he has that injury risk, but like you said, it's like I don't know. But don't be
No,
surprised. Yeah, don't be surprised if he's one of the best pass rushers that comes out of this draft, or if the best.
he's elite.
Yeah. And we talked about that last week. So if you want to check that out, check out our last podcast. Okay. With the next pick, I have the San Francisco 49ers taking Caleb Farley. Obviously it's a little early since his injury, since the injury news came out, but I still feel like Caleb Farley is one of the best corners in this draft, and he has the elite skill set to help the 49ers win. The 49ers brought in who did they bring in corner this offseason?
Um,
Here.
1 second. They brought in. I know they lost to Kella Witherspoon. They brought back Jason
Oh
Verrett.
yeah, Jason Verrett, Emmanuel Mosley, that's who they signed.
Oh, Emmanuel
Yeah.
Mosley. They brought him back as
And they
well.
just brought just Quisky Tart back too. So I think Caleb Farley is the final piece, or not final piece, but like one of the pieces they need to build back that elite defense. Obviously, they lost Robert Sala. They're losing Richard Sherman, I'm sure, right? And then yeah, so they just need help at corner. Their defensive line is pretty much set. Besides DT, which they could also address, kind
They
of.
have
I think.
Kinlaw.
Yeah, Kinlaw. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Their D line is set. Their linebackers, they're okay. I feel like they're okay with linebacker too. And offensively,
Just
they're
quarterback.
yeah, they're just quarterback, but at this point you can't take Mac Jones. But
Yeah.
yeah, so this makes the most sense taking corner.
Yeah, I had them going corner as well. I had them going JC Horn. I think the Farley injury risk is a bit too much here. So,
Mhm.
but Horn can really do a lot of things. You can just put him on the island and he'll shut guys down. The one concern with him, like we talked about last week, is the physicality. He'll commit penalties when he walks into the NFL. He's a very physical corner, grabs, pushes. Sometimes that's a good thing, but sometimes it's a bad thing. So he'll have a bit of troubles going into the NFL. But developmentally, he's a very solid guy, and you can put him man on man, and he'll shut down any receiver.
Yep. Yeah, Caleb Farley looks to be really good. It just sucks that he got injured. Okay, with the next pick, I have the Los Angeles Chargers taking Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle. Who do you have?
I have him as well. I think he's exactly what they need. Missing
Yep.
piece of that O line.
Obviously they signed Corey Linsley, Matt Feeler. They have Brian Bulaga. And
But
I
they
feel like
cut Trey Turner.
but they could, yeah, they cut Trey
They just
Turner.
need a
So
guard as
yeah.
well, but there's no
Um,
value here.
yeah, but like obviously they need to fill that other tackle role, and Christian Darrisaw is a very good fit here. Yeah,
Yeah, he's gonna be
this
on
makes
Justin
this makes a lot of
Herbert's
sense.
blind side.
Yep. He needs the most help he can get. He lost a couple weapons this offseason. So
Yeah, so I think you just protect Justin Herbert's blind side for the next 10 years. Very mobile guy. Help with the run. They have Eckler there right now, but he's not going to be there for too long. I don't think so. He'll certainly outlive Eckler, like on the team. So he'll be a proponent in the run game and the pass game.
yeah, I really like this pick here. With the next pick, I have the Minnesota Vikings taking Jalen Phillips. I feel like he'll fall a bit just because, the concerns or whatever. But this is really good value for the Vikings here, and they need to fix their defense because their defense is like pretty garbage.
Yeah, I like the pick here for the Vikings. I think they really need that pass rush. They tried to get it with Ngakwe, but I don't think that he was the guy for them. So they had to get rid of him because there was just value there because the Ravens were willing to give him up. I had the Vikings go with Tevin Jenkins,
Hmm.
tackle from Oklahoma State. Obviously, just lost Riley Reef, but he wasn't really much. So they have a hole now at a tackle position. And I think Tevin Jenkins is a power tackle that can really fortify that offensive line for them even more.
Yeah. That pick definitely makes sense, but I feel like with Jalen Phillips here on my board, you can't really pass him up. And
I agree.
honestly, there's a lot of tackle talent in this class, in this into the second round. So yeah, I like this for the Vikings.
Yeah, it's a
Okay,
very deep
next we
tackle
have
class.
next we have your team, the New England Patriots. So who do you have them taking?
Yeah, I have my New England Patriots taking Devonta Smith. Uh,
Oh, you had him fall.
I had him fall,
Holy.
but that wasn't on purpose because I don't think that obviously there's realistic scenarios where he could be taken, but I think him falling to the Patriots could be a very realistic scenario as well. Um, like I said last week, when I talked about my wish list for the Patriots draft needs, Devonta Smith is exactly what we need. Elite separator, number one guy who can really go out and make plays, carry an offense. Um, we'll be running our mostly a two tight end sets, but then our receiving core, we need that one big number one guy. Smith obviously isn't the number one guy physically, but he can make plays just as well as anybody else. Elite route runner, elite hands, and punt returns and kickoff returns as well. He can make plays, and I think Bill Belichick would really value that because
Yep.
Belichick really loves just guys that can go out and make an impact any way possible. So I think Smith is the perfect guy for us here.
Yeah, Devontae Smith definitely makes sense. Honestly, a lot of mock drafts had Kyle Pitts falling to you guys early on.
I don't see that
Not gonna
happening.
happen. Not gonna
I
happen.
don't see that happening.
And with my pick with the Patriots, I feel like which is the next best player available, and I took J.C. Horn. Obviously, you had J.C. Horn going in front of Caleb Farley because of the injury concern. But yeah,
Yeah.
I have J.C. Horn falling here, and I feel like this like corner room. This is something they kind of need to address. I think they're gonna bring back J.C. Jackson. No,
Yeah, we tendered him second round tender.
yeah, so they're bringing him back, but obviously there's like trade rumors with Stephon Gilmore. They're I feel like just in general their corner room needs help too. Like J.C. Jackson's kind of getting old, but yeah, I feel like bringing in someone new, someone who's elite, it could really help the Patriots out and their defense.
Yeah, I certainly see that happening, especially with Jason McCourty aging. But yeah, I just don't think that's a real need right now.
Hmm.
I think we're in a position to win, and I think that making an addition on an impact position right away will be a bit more useful. But I like the horn pick for the future.
Okay. With the next pick, we have the Arizona Cardinals. So who do you have them picking?
I have the Cardinals taking Caleb Farley. His slide ends here for me. I think they really need a cornerback with Peterson leaving. Alford, I think he's there. Maybe or was it Poole or Alford?
I think it's all for
Okay, it
yeah.
doesn't matter. It's the fact that we're even having this conversation shows you uh, the help that they need back there. Byron Murphy was there, early second round pick 2 years ago, but I still think that they really need help. And Farley is a man on man corner. athletic freak. Hopefully the injuries don't get to him, but he's slipping because a lot of the injuries that he's had are concerning teams. But his talent is there. He opted out, but he was really shutting down the ACC 2 years ago.
Yeah, corner is a very big need for the Cardinals. But I spiced it up a little bit. I had them taking Christian Barmore from Alabama.
I like
Um,
that.
you
I
know,
like that.
I feel like their defense is just kind of a disaster. Anyways, but obviously they brought in JJ Watt. They have Chandler Jones coming back. And bringing Christian Barmore could make that line elite and have an elite pass rush. So yeah, I really like that pick for the Cardinals. They're like you said, their corner room is very weak, but I feel like there's also some second round corners or they could draft or maybe even trade up for. Obviously Caleb Farley falling there, you take him there, but I feel like Christian Barmore is just an elite talent at D tackle from Alabama, and I feel like you need to take him there.
I agree. You can learn under Watt as well.
Yeah. Okay. With the next pick, we have the Las Vegas Raiders, and with my pick, I went with linebacker, and I went with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Who did you go with?
I had them go Micah Parsons,
Okay.
also a linebacker. Do you
Mhm.
want to talk about Jock first?
Yeah. Okay. So Owusu-Koramoah, I feel like he's something that John Gruden is looking for. I feel like he's more of like a physical type, but he's also like technically sound. Like I said last week, I feel like he's the number one linebacker in this class, and I feel like that's something that the Raiders can't pass on. But you never know with the Raiders because they make some interesting picks every year in the first round.
Yeah, I went with Parsons because he fits the mold of what the Raiders look for. 5-star recruits with big that went to big programs. Uh, Obviously the Mayock Gruden combo has done that a lot recently. I remember we watched the Cleveland Furl draft together.
Yep. Yep.
That was interesting.
Oh gosh.
But I think Parsons is a really great addition to their team. They need a thumper at middle linebacker, in my opinion. They just need to address that position. They tried to with Littleton and Kwiatkowski, but that didn't really work out too well. So I think Parsons will really come in and make a difference for that defense that really, really needs help.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not complaining that they suck, but yeah, this team is just lost in general, and they need to bring in someone to change it up a little bit. And
Culture change a bit.
taking some like random like corner or like receiver or like running back like every year, that's not gonna really help them. I feel like.
They
Yeah.
need a
Okay.
foundational piece.
hmm Okay. With the next pick, we have the Miami Dolphins who just gathered all these picks. So I have them taking Kwity Paye, from Michigan. And yeah, I really like this edge fit. I feel like edge is a need for them. Yeah, their defense they need help too. Obviously they have a lot of they brought in a lot of pieces last year, but I feel like they need to keep adding if they want to compete.
I think, honestly, I think if Pay is there, they're going to run the 3-4 defense. So I think he'll be a 3-4 D lineman.
Mhm.
I don't think he's athletic. I don't know. He has the profile of like a tweener, kind of like Rashawn Gary.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm concerned about him a little bit. But Bill Flores, no, Brian Flores obviously runs the Bill Belichick defense. So there's a lot of versatility. So I think he'll be a cool chess piece for them. I had him going JOK, Jeremiah Wusu-Koroma, just like we
Mhm.
talked about. Coverage linebacker, good against the run, great against the pass. I think he's also going to be another versatile piece for the Dolphins defense. And I think Brian Flores can find really creative ways to use him.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's an interesting move there. I actually like their linebackers. They have Jerome Baker, who I really like, and I feel like, bringing him in would also, it'd be like it's not like negating your defense. So, he's amazing. So yeah, I like that pick too. With the next pick, the Washington Football Team. We'll hear that name for another year, but with this pick, I have them taking Micah Parsons. Yeah,
I like that.
obviously, like, their defense is very good. But I feel like they have some linebacker troubles. Thomas Davis is getting pretty old.
He retired.
He retired.
Retired.
Yeah, yeah, he's gone. They need a linebacker, and to fill in for him. And I feel like Micah Parsons could fit him very well.
Yeah, I had them going Elijah Vera Tucker, guard slash tackle from USC. He has a lot of versatility. He played guard for his first couple seasons at USC, but then they kicked him out to tackle this year, and he really succeeded. I think they have a hole at tackle ever since Trent Williams left, and I think Vera Tucker can come in and really stabilize that offensive line for them, for whoever they'll have behind him. Probably Fitzpatrick right now, but you never know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, now we're gonna get into Chicago Bears, who have been a dumpster fire organization this offseason. I don't know what they're doing. And I'm
I don't
gonna
think they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a pick that I think they're gonna do, not something that fits them best. And I'm gonna go with Kadarius Tony. Obviously he's an amazing talent. He's super fast. He's an elite weapon. Something you need, something you could use. Obviously with Allen Robinson coming back, you need someone to play second fiddle with him. They have Darnell Mooney, but bringing another speed piece is good for them. I feel like Kadarius Tony does that for them, but obviously they have Andy Dalton as their quarterback.
Yeah. Here is where I have I think my most interesting pick of the draft. I have them going Mac Jones, quarterback from Alabama. Obviously they were linked to Russell Wilson, and bringing in Andy Dalton when your fans have the hopes of Russell Wilson is a big slap in the face to your fan base. So I think this will be more of a desperation pick from Ryan Pace trying to keep his job. So I think he's gonna throw shit on the wall, and hopefully something sticks. I think Mac Jones is a solid player. Um, what they need to do now after picking him, in my eyes, is bring in some more weapons for him and really stabilize the offensive line. Offensive
Yeah.
line being the main priority. I think Mac Jones can be a quality NFL quarterback. I don't see him as a first round talent, but then again, this is a team that picked Mitchell Trubisky number 2 overall after trading up for him. So I think they're in desperation mode, and I think Mac Jones can bring in some excitement to that franchise.
Yeah, I feel like this is Ryan Pace's like one of his final years on the Bears. I could easily see them going like 4-12, 5-11. Oh, didn't they add an extra week or something? They're gonna be another
Oh
game.
yeah, 17.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I could see them having 5 wins and being absolute trash. I could see that, but I could also see them being like a wild card team and winning like 7 games or something like that. You never know.
It all depends on the offense.
Yeah.
That
It
defense is stacked.
Yeah, their defense is definitely like one of their strong suit. But they lost Kyle Fuller. They just released him. Eddie Jackson's pissed about that. I saw that on Twitter. They're all complaining that like cap space isn't really a thing. Yeah, and I just don't know what Ryan Pace is doing in general. Yeah, but we'll see how the Bears turn out. Moving on to the next pick, I have Aziz Ojulari going to the Colts.
I do too.
Oh, really? Okay, so yeah,
Yes.
obviously edge is something they need to bring in. They lost what's his face? Uh
Justin Houston. No, he's still there.
oh, he's there. Denico Autry. They lost him to the Titans. And I feel like edge is something they need to bring in. Yeah, edge is really good for them.
Yeah, I think this is more of a pick for the future as well. Um, we talked about him last week, but Aziz Ojulari can really take over a game in multiple facets. He has elite pass rush moves, can stop the run, but he's also versatile enough to drop back in coverage and make plays there. So I think the Colts will really value his versatility as well.
Yeah. That defensive line is gonna look good if they bring in Ojulari or like any pass rusher in this first round.
I
Okay.
agree.
With my next pick, I had the Tennessee Titans taking Greg Newsome. And I like
Okay.
this. I like this pick because their quarter room. It's obviously just an absolute mess. Their defense is like kind of a mess right now, but they did bring in Bud Dupree and Danico Autry. So I feel like boosting that secondary would help. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the Titans taking Agent Zero, Rashad Bateman.
Oh dang.
I
Okay.
think he has the caliber to be a number 1 receiver in the NFL, and I think the duo with him and AJ Brown is deadly. I was looking at his scouting reports today. I watched his film. I didn't see any weaknesses, so I want to see, hey, let's see what the professional guys are saying his weaknesses are. And basically, all they did was compliment him. We talked about this last week. They complimented him, his route running ability, his hands, his versatility, inside, outside. But the one knock I could find on him was speed, and he really disproved that with his pro day because he ran in the 4.4, 4.5 range. So I think he is a really complete receiver who can walk in day one and be an NFL number one receiver. Um, some comparisons for him were Michael Thomas, and he can be a real good chain mover, just like Thomas is. And I think he'll be deadly for Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, I think there's just so many elite receivers in this class that he got overshadowed. Like I remember last year, like right after the 2020 draft, there were 2021 mock drafts already coming up, and Rashad Bateman was like the number 2 or 3 receiver in that class. And there's just so much talent with the rise of Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. So yeah, I think he's amazing, and I have him going soon too. Okay, with the next pick, I have the New York Jets taking Gregory Rousseau from the U, Miami. And I chose this pick because they lost a decent amount of free agency. Obviously they just brought in Sheldon Rankins and name, yeah, they brought in Sheldon Rankins
Carl Lawson
and
as well.
Carl Lawson. Yeah, that's what it is. And I feel like they need to boost their D line. They lost Henry Anderson to Patriots, who was honestly like a good secret weapon kind of guy that they had. And I feel like bringing in Gregory Rousseau, um, that'll just keep boosting their D line. And I feel like their defense is their strong suit right now, and they need to keep building on that.
Yeah, I had them going pass rusher as well. I had them going Quiddy Pay. I think him and Rousseau were interchangeable, really. They're both athletic freaks. I think Pay, though, we've seen more consistency because
Yep.
Rousseau only played the position for 1 year. I think Rousseau has more potential, but Pay is the safer pick. Not that I'm saying Pay doesn't have potential, but Pay, you know what you're going to get with him. And Rousseau, he has the ability. He's a real boomer bust guy. But I think the Jets defense really needs like a sure thing because I think they have the pieces in place to compete maybe 2 or 3 years down the line. And with Salah there, I think he could properly coach up anyone who he brings in.
Yeah, Rousseau is more of like a project player, and anyone who I would trust to build up a project player would be Robert Sala. So I feel like Rousseau is just like it's just part of the rebuild. They're slowly getting there, and they're slowly building a good team there in New York. Yeah, with the next pick with the Pittsburgh Steelers, they had an interesting year last year, but with this pick, I went with Sam Cosmi, offensive tackle from Clemson, and yeah,
Texas.
oh Texas, okay, and yeah, I feel like
I
this is
had them
something
going with him too as well.
I feel like this is something they need to do. They lost Matt Fielder. They're just O line.
Villanueva.
Yeah, the Villanueva. Their O line is weak. Yeah, so their team is just like kind of a mess. They brought back
It's
Big
falling
Ben.
apart.
Yeah, Big Ben, a lot of money over a lot of years. And if you're gonna bring him back, at least protect him because this dude needs to be like protected or else he'll just die on the field.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of guys go running back here, but there's no point in going running back if your
No,
line sucks.
no, yeah.
So I think you build up that line and then maybe go running back later because there's depth in this class. There's a really good group of running backs. Um, so I say you build up that line for Big Ben and the running back that you're going to take. I don't think James Conner's the guy. And hopefully try to build some pieces for the future because right now it's not looking too good.
Honestly, yeah, you can take running back, but I feel like they already took a early running back last year with Anthony McFarland. They have James
Oh,
Conner.
true.
James Conner, he was interesting last year. He was very inconsistent. He was bad most of the time, but I feel like that O line had to do something with it. I feel like he still could be pretty solid in the NFL, but obviously his window's closing with his injuries and things. With the next pick with the Jacksonville Jaguars, with their second pick, I have them taking Trayvon Moehrig.
I do as well.
Yeah, that's okay. That's crazy, man. Okay. Obviously, their secondary needs help. They have a lot of young guys on that team, and bringing in Trayvon Moehrig, the top safety in this class, what it looks like, is a very good idea. And tackle obviously is one of their needs too. Uh, but I feel like their
They just
defense is a
tagged
lot.
Robinson.
Yeah, I feel like their defense is a little more important here.
Yeah, there's value with tackle later in the second and third round because it's a very deep tackle class. I think the safety class, there's also depth there, but Morg is such a great guy, really versatile, can do everything well. So I think he's the guy here because they had a bit of a weakness there last year after trading away Ronnie Harrison.
Yeah. Okay. With the next pick, the Cleveland Browns. I have them taking Davion Nixon, defensive tackle. Um, so this pick is just something they can do to fortify their defense. Obviously their D line is pretty amazing. They brought in Tack McKinley. Who should we talk about was a little like he's a little bit of concern, but it's better than whatever Olivier Vernon was doing. They have Tack McKinley. They have the best pass rusher, the sack leader in that. Well, not sack leader, but one of the top sack leaders in the NFL, Miles Garrett. They have Sheldon Richardson, and why not bring in Davion Nixon?
I like that pick. I
Yeah.
think it's an interesting pick. I wasn't expecting it, but I like that pick. I had them going Zaven Collins, linebacker from Tulsa. 6'4", 260 pounds, athletic monster. Versatility to play coverage linebacker, play like your Sam linebacker, your strong side. But also the ability to rush the passer as well. So he's a versatile chess piece for their defense. But I think that he's going to play really fortify the middle of that field. He can cover as well. So I think he'll be a good player, and I really see the Browns making a deep playoff run this year.
Yeah, they looked really good this year, and I really like their defense going in, bringing back John Johnson, and even getting Grant Delpit back. And they brought Troy Hill from LA too, so
Yeah.
I really like their defense now. Okay, with the next pick, I have the Baltimore Ravens taking Rashad Bateman.
Ooh, I like it. I like
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so with this pick, obviously they need a wide receiver. There's been talks that they've been talking with Sammy Watkins, and I don't know what that's gonna do for you, but bringing in a number one receiver is a major need, and obviously they didn't do that in free agency with Juju or Kenny Galladay. I mean, they visited, but I don't even think they visited, but they did. They didn't really do anything in free agency, and bringing in Rashad Bateman, one of the top receivers in this class, overshadowed. I could see them. I could see him helping them a lot, and Marquise Brown needs
Yeah.
help too.
Don't be surprised if he's the number one receiver from this class in a couple of years' time. I think he's deadly, like I said before. I had them going Gregory Rousseau. They have a need at edge with Judon gone now. They've tried to address the position in earlier drafts, including Jalen Ferguson, Tyus Bowser. But they really need that go-to guy that can get them pressures. I think Wink Nightingale is a great coach for Rousseau. Like we said, he's a project, but I think he can really flourish on that Ravens defense with other weapons there. I think he can learn under Calais Campbell as well.
Yeah. Uh, the Ravens, they're an interesting team. They're like two or three, like 3 to 4 players away from being like serious contenders again. Obviously they're contenders, but they have a history of not going far in the playoffs. Lamar,
Yeah,
I like Lamar. He
me
played
too.
well. Yeah, he played well at the end of the year. I just feel like he doesn't have that many weapons to throw to. He has Marquise Brown, who like well underperformed this year. They have the Devin Duvernay, who was a decent return man, but you need something more than that. Um,
Willie Sneed. Like,
Willie
come
Snead.
on.
Mark Andrews was also had a down year, so I feel like they need to change something up here.
The thing that they need to get back to is just really pounding the ball down teams' throat. They have J.K. Dobbins there. They have Gus the Bus Edwards. Rutgers represent.
That's true.
Um, but what's it called? I think another need they need to address later on the draft is interior O line. They
Yeah,
signed
definitely.
Zeitler, but the retirement of Marshall Yonder really made an impact on that team last year, and they obviously weren't as dynamic. Because the threat of the run wasn't as bad.
Yeah, and obviously they lost Mark Ingram, who kind of fell off, completely fell off, honestly. And J.K. Dobbins was ready to take over that role, and that's what she did at the end of the year. Okay, with the next, we're getting to the end, near the end now, and these are some of the playoff teams. With the New Orleans Saints pick, I'm taking Zaven Collins, linebacker.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
I had them going Kadarius Toney, receiver from Florida.
Getting Jameis Winston that weapon. I see.
Yeah,
Okay, Zaven Collins pick. Obviously they had to do a lot with their defense. They had to like, just cut a lot of players, restructure a lot of contracts, and I feel like, losing Quan Alexander, their defense was elite last year, one of the best defenses in NFL. And I feel like bringing in Zaven Collins, an athletic freak at linebacker, it really helps them, and they need help at linebacker.
yeah. You talked about Tony earlier. If I'll expand on it a little bit more. He's a slot guy, but he's also a very gadgety player, and I think Sean Payton can find ways to use him, kind of like what they did with Deontay Harris. But I think Tony is a huge upgrade. He has a bit of a drop issue. He dominated the Senior Bowl, but he had a bit of a hands issue there. But I think he's a really versatile weapon. Uh, and yeah,
Versatile. The word
very
being thrown a lot
versatile.
around in this draft.
I
Okay.
know, but listen,
Yeah.
that's what gets you money.
Yeah. Okay, with the next pick, Green Bay Packers. Although I never see them taking a receiver in the first round, they are take with my pick. I have them taking Terrace Marshall out of LSU.
Yeah, we never see them taking him for a receiver in the first round, and that will not change. I have them
What?
going Jalen Mayfield, tackle from Michigan.
Yeah, that makes sense for them.
You want to talk about Marshall?
Yeah, I'll talk about Marshall first. Marshall was a solid receiver in LSU's offense. He's honestly not bad. He can be a, I feel like a second tier, third to second tier wide receiver in the NFL. And that's something the Packers need. The
They
Packers
do.
the Packers I don't know what they're doing about their receivers, but obviously they had who they have? Who was the guy who dropped the balls a lot?
Oh, what's his name? Marquise Valdez-Scantling
Yeah, Marquise Valdez-Scantling. He had a lot of drops, and he was basically their second best receiver. Devontae Adams went completely off last year.
and
Um,
Lazard. Remember?
yeah, Alan Lazard. But they need to
Yeah,
bring in
come
another
on.
piece. Like, come on, like they need to bring in someone who can actually make an impact, or even like any kind of impact. Honestly, yeah, that makes
I
sense for
agree
them.
with you. I agree with you, but I don't think that the value is there. I think Marshall's more of a second round guy. And I think they do need a tackle very badly. Obviously, they paid Bakhtiari, but on the other side, they just lost Bulaga to the Chargers, and they had what's his name, Rick Wagner there last year.
Yeah,
I
I think
think you
so.
bring in a young, athletic guy who can move the pocket, protect Aaron Rodgers, and hopefully you just paid Aaron Jones. Why not give him some running lanes? You know,
Yeah. That was also pretty surprising. I thought he was gonna leave to like the Cardinals or something,
Miami
but
or something. Yeah,
yeah, but he ended up staying. So yeah, they need to
give him a
boost that.
discount.
They need that O line boost, but they also need to help Aaron Rodgers because that man he's been robbed of a lot of things. Okay, with the next pick with the Buffalo Bills, I have them taking Najee Harris out of
I
Alabama,
like it.
running
I like
back.
it.
Obviously they didn't have that much consistent running back play last year. They have Singletary, um,
And Moss.
yeah, and Zach Moss, but I feel like they need to bring in like a RB1. They need to build it. They need to bring in someone like he's a good power back. Like they need to like have their run game as like a threat besides Josh Allen just like running around. But you know they need that. I feel like that's something they need, and that's like the final piece. Like bringing in that run game to put them over the top.
I had them going Greg Newsome, cornerback from Northwestern. I think they have in their secondary, they have a solid group of safeties. They have top five cornerback in Tre'Davious White, but opposed from him, you don't really have much. Levi Wallace isn't great. So I think you bring in Greg Newsome, you really shut down the other side of the field. And I think it makes their defense even more deadly.
Yeah. Um, Obviously, just adding to that defense, one of the best defenses in the NFL. It kind of struggled at times, kind of, but so bringing that piece makes sense. With the next pick, the Kansas City Chiefs, I have them taking Jalen Mayfield. Obviously, we saw from the Super Bowl their offensive line play was just absolutely horrendous. They cut both of their tackles, Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz. They brought in Joe Tooney, which is solid, but they need a
He's a
tackle.
guard.
Yeah,
He's
they
a
need a
guard.
tackle. They need a tackle. They need O line help in general, but they need a tackle here. Jalen Mayfield makes sense. Um, yeah, that was the one
Yeah,
thing
I
that
also
stopped them
had
from
them.
winning Super Bowl. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree completely. Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett took over that game. So I also had them going tackle. I had them going Dylan Ray Dunes from North Dakota State.
mhm,
He was a great player at the Senior Bowl. He won best practice player there. So it shows that his competition and his peers really valued his high level of play. Um, I think Ray Dunes is being a bit slept on because of the level of competition as well.
yeah,
But I think he can come in and make an impact at a position where they need help desperately. Because if you pay Mahomes $500 million, you need to make sure he's playing and not hurt.
yeah,
So protect Mahomes.
yeah. Radunes is definitely underrated. Feel like, I feel like he's gonna drop to the second round inevitably, but if he does, I want the Broncos to take him.
Your Broncos proponent. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. With the last pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have them taking Travis Etienne out of Clemson. Obviously, they have running back. They have a running back, elite running back, playoff Lenny. But there's questions about him right now of not returning. They haven't re-signed him yet. They have they? No, they
No,
haven't.
they haven't.
They
But
haven't.
you don't
But
like Rojo?
nah. I mean, I do,
No.
but nah. Travis Etienne, bro. You bring him in. Bring him in. Just add another elite weapon to that offense. Get Tom Brady the
Oh
help he needs.
man, he doesn't need help.
I give him the running back, man. I feel like
All right, all right.
Etienne's just too elite to pass up on.
I had them going Christian Barmore, D tackle from Alabama, like you said. I don't know if Sue is still going to be there. And I think Barmore is a great developmental guy that you can bring him along slowly, and then have him around a winning culture, just like he had in Alabama. The
Mhm.
motivation he needs is there, and I think he can become a dominant force for them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that does it for our mock draft. That was interesting. We had a lot of similar picks, which I didn't see coming. We actually didn't look at each other's, but yeah,
Yeah,
we had a lot of similar picks. So yeah, when we come back from our break, we're gonna go over some more free agency signings that occurred. We're gonna talk about the Giants, who sleepily looks like they're going in the right direction with Dave Gettleman, which is surprising to say. So yeah, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and now we're going to talk about some free agency signings and restructures. So first, we have Marcus Mariota, who restructured with the Las Vegas Raiders on a 1 year, 3 mil guaranteed, 3.5 mil contract. So think of what are your thoughts on that?
um, I don't think he's going to start for them. I think he'll still be a solid backup for them. Honestly, best backup in the league in my eyes. So I think there's going to be a quarterback needy team that makes a move on him soon, because that's a very tradable contract. It's not a big cap hit, and I think he deserves the opportunity. Obviously, he got sold a bit short in Tennessee. They didn't really give him the pieces he needed to succeed. And listen, he won a playoff game for them. He won a couple playoff games for them. So I don't know. I think he deserves the opportunity again. We saw what he did with the Raiders against the Chargers last year once Carr got hurt for that game. So I think he deserves a shot, you know?
Yeah, I was actually hoping the Broncos would try to bring him in to compete with Drew Lock, but obviously that didn't happen. They didn't really go for any backup quarterback in the offseason. So now we're looking at the draft. But yeah, Mariota is someone who I feel like is a little bit underrated. Okay, the next signing, my Broncos brought back Kareem Jackson. We talked about last week how we cut him and that was an A+. But George Payton just had to do it and bring him back and finish off this defense, which looks pretty elite now. And I really like this signing. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a W. I
Yeah.
know I said last week that his play could deteriorate, and he cleared up a lot of cap. But listen, if you can bring him back for cheaper, do it. You know, he's familiar with the system. He knows what to do. He's a great player. Um, you're building up the defense around him, so why not? You know?
Yeah, I have the Broncos depth chart right here. I have their defense, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing right now with Kareem Jackson filling in at strong safety. Obviously, I thought strong
Why? Who
safety.
is there?
I don't know, like Elijah
Who
Holder, PJ Locke. I don't know. So I really
need to
like.
bring him back?
Yeah, we need to bring him back, and now it's something we don't have to immediately address in like the first round with like safety, like trading back or anything. So this, I really like what George Payton's been doing in free agency. Okay, so with the next signing, we have Keanu Neal. Obviously, we talked about this during the mock draft, but Keanu Neal coming to the Cowboys from Atlanta for a 1 year, 4 mil contract, $3 million guaranteed, and I really like this for them and their defense.
Yeah, he played strong safety in Atlanta, but they already announced that he's going to be playing weak side linebacker for the Cowboys. So I think that really fortifies their linebacking room. I don't know, like a lot of people have mixed opinions about Jalen Smith. Um, but Leighton Vander Esch obviously is a great player. He just needs to stay healthy. And I think this is a step in the right direction for them, because their defense really just sold them last year.
Yeah,
So
I
they
don't know
need to
what they were
fortify
doing.
that.
Yeah.
The CeeDee
But
Lamb pick was a
honestly, the
question.
Cowboys still have Mike McCarthy, and I feel like Mike McCarthy just having him is just not a good idea. They're getting Dak back. He signed a huge deal, but I feel like Dak is actually a very good, like pretty solid quarterback. And
He's a great quarterback.
yeah, and when they're
I
healthy,
think he's
yeah, when they're healthy, their offense is actually like very good. They put up a lot of points against Atlanta. Obviously, they choked that game in the early in the season, but their offense looked legit. Just their defense, just absolute
just the
garbage.
defense.
Okay,
And they
now
won games
yeah,
with Andy Dalton. They won games with him.
yeah, and they almost won a game with who's the guy from James Madison?
Garrett Gilbert, Ben DiNucci.
Ben DiNucci, Gucci DiNucci. They almost won a game with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So next we're gonna talk about the Jets. They brought in Sheldon Rankins for 2 years, $17 million contract. I couldn't see the guaranteed, but they brought him in from the Saints, and this is a pretty good deal for them. Their defensive line is starting to their defense. They're building their team. They're bringing the offensive pieces, and I really like what Joe Douglas is doing here. Obviously they were horrible last year, but their one shining like I said was their defense, and building on that is very important.
Yeah, their defensive line is stacked now, and they have Quinn Williams in there, top 10 defensive lineman. They're bringing in Sheldon Rankins, another elite guy. So I think that's a scary 1-2 punch there at D tackle. Carl Lawson, excellent pass rusher, one of the league leaders in pressures last year. Not a big sack guy, but I think could be. Um, and they have a couple outside linebackers that can really send at you, and they just need to address the secondary in free agency and the draft, I should say.
Yeah. No, don't sleep on John Franklin Myers. That dude is a beast.
Yeah, he's good too.
Yeah, he is a
And
beast.
that one guy, the Polynesian sounding guy,
Oh, I don't recall.
Fota Kusi or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I think that sounds familiar actually, but obviously, yeah, like we said,
Jets
Jets
fans
D
knows
line.
who I'm talking
Yeah,
about. They
Jets
know what
D
I'm talking
line
about.
elite. Jets D line elite. Yeah, they're looking very good, and I like what Joe Douglas is doing there. Okay, now we're gonna talk about the New York Giants, who've made a lot of big splashes in free agency, and they spent a lot of money as well. Um, They signed Kenny Galladay to a 4-year, $72 million contract, $40 million guaranteed. In this crappy market, they brought him in, and that's you need to do that. Daniel Jones needs help, and Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. That's not gonna cut it if they want to compete in the NFC East. They brought in Kyle Rudolph on a cheap deal, which I really like for them. He's a good possession receiver, something that Evan Ingram needs to work on, his hands. And yeah, that's their offense is looking, they're going in the right direction. Obviously Andrew Thomas looked a little weak in the beginning of the year. He was pretty crap, but
Solid.
yeah,
He's
he's looking,
solid
yeah,
later on in the year. I think
yeah,
he developed for him.
yeah. And Shane Lemieux was also pretty solid, and they're getting Matt Solder back. Yeah, they're getting Nate Solder back.
Nate
They're getting Nate
Solderman.
Solder back. He's kind of washed, but they're getting
They had
Nate Solder back.
Matt Parrott.
Yeah, Matt Pert too.
He was good for them.
Yeah. So their offense looks good, but now let's talk about their defense. Their defense is actually looking pretty elite. Building off of what they had last year, they're also their strong suit. They brought in Adoree Jackson from the Tennessee Titans for 3 years, $39 million, 26 and a half guaranteed. That's a lot of money for Adoree Jackson, but reuniting him and Logan Ryan, that's a good thing. I like what they're doing there on defense.
Yeah, their secondary is really excellent. James Bradbury, Xavier McKinney, Adoree Jackson, Logan Ryan, Jabril Peppers, Darnay Holmes. They really have a lot of depth there, a lot of guys they can throw out, and they can really lock down New York over there.
Yeah, and they almost did it
They
against
could,
Tampa Bay. They almost did it that
I
1 week.
know,
They almost did
I
it.
know.
So yeah, I like what they're doing here. They obviously have Leonard Williams, who they brought back on a huge extension. They have Blake Martinez at linebacker, which he's a solid linebacker. He's not as fast, but he's a good cover linebacker. Dexter Lawrence, he's getting there, and they have O'Shawn Zimenez outside linebacker, who's also looked pretty solid. And I know that Giants fans like him. All right, so the
Yeah.
question here is, can Daniel Jones take the next step to bring this roster, you know, to the playoffs and even like get them a win in the playoffs, do you think? So why don't you get started on that?
I think they just need to surround him with stability. I think Jason Garrett he was a good coordinator for them last year. I think with bringing in Saquon back, people forget about that. Saquon Barkley, the number one running back in the NFL,
Yeah.
debatably, is
Yeah.
going to be back. So he's going to make a difference. Um, so I think they could potentially win the NFC East. It's going to be between,
The football team.
it's either going to be football team and the Cowboys and them. I think that's going to be a tough battle, but I think they could do it. I don't see them winning a playoff game though. I'm sorry. It really just depends on what Daniel Jones can do. If he can take that leap.
Yeah, he looked good at times, but then he looked very bad at
Turnovers
like certain
and
times. So,
turnovers.
it just depends on how he develops. And what he does is now that he has pieces, he has actual pieces now, and they could even draft another piece. Like I said, like I have them taking Jalen Waddle, but like if he can't capitalize on that, then he's not the man. You're gonna have to bring in someone else. And
Yeah, then you swallow your
yeah,
pride and cut them, or
yeah,
just bring in a competition. You know.
yeah. It's the same thing with the Jets. Sam Darnold doesn't really capitalize on this year. Even if he like makes it out of training camp with Zach Wilson, like we think he's gonna come in. So yeah. Yeah, that's the Giants. Okay, so on our next segment, we have a new segment called Stonks, where basically we're gonna say up or down on random things. It could be anything. It could be about sports. It could be about life. So yeah, if it's up, then obviously we want to put our shares in it. If it's down, then we're not gonna put our shares into it. So for my first up, I have March Madness. March Madness has been crazy this year. It's actually been mad. Loyola Chicago beat Illinois in the second round. That was absolutely crazy. Oral Roberts beat Ohio State in the first round and then proceeded to beat Florida in the next round. So now they're in the Sweet 16. 15 seed Oral Roberts is in the Sweet 16. And then Oregon State, they pulled off the 5-12 upset in the first round. And then they beat Oklahoma State, who was, projected to be a very good team with Cade Cunningham. And getting into Cade Cunningham, that's going to be my down. When he was playing in the tournament, he put up numbers in the second game, but in the first game against Liberty, he just looked like he didn't want to be there, and he just looked lazy. And I remember Oklahoma State, they were struggling at times against Liberty, one of the best 3-point shooting teams in NCAA. And then in the second round, they played Oregon State, and I watched that game a little bit too, and Cade just looked like he didn't want to be there. He didn't look like he was trying or anything, and obviously that's not going to hurt his draft stock, but I would look out for that. He actually didn't look like he didn't care.
I don't know. I mean, I'm still a big fan of Cade Cunningham. I think he's an elite NBA prospect, obvious number one pick in the draft in my eyes. But that's not. I don't know, that's like a different segment we're going to talk about in a different episode with Ari Hunt, I think.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, I just think you're maybe overvaluing like the poor play in the tournament a little bit because I just think he's that special. I think I agree with you about March Madness craziness being insane. Uh, Oregon also upsetting Iowa. The Pac-12 was really making an impact with USC smacking Kansas as well. UCLA making the Sweet 16. Just a lot of great teams from the Pac-12 being underappreciated in the regular season, and now they're coming in and making a difference in the tournament. So I just think that's really cool to see. Um, my stock up for today is going to be Disney Plus.
Oh,
Disney Plus is coming in strong with a lot of additions. Obviously, there's the WandaVision series, and then there's the new Falcon and Winter Soldier series, which is going to be dope. And there's going to be a lot of new content coming out this year that I'm really excited for. And I just think it's really cool to see Disney make an impact when people can't be in theaters.
yeah. I really like Disney Plus. I had it for a while, but I don't have it anymore. But I can re-look into getting it. I haven't seen WandaVision or anything like that, so I might look
Yeah, I
into
haven't
getting it.
watched it, but I'm starting soon.
Yeah. All right.
What's
Once
it
you're
called?
down.
And then my stock down for today is going to be David Dobrik. There's been allegations coming out against him and his friends. Um, so we're not really going to get into the details, but there's been sexual harassment and rape. And David has peer pressured a lot of people into doing things that they weren't comfortable with. And frankly, his friend, Dirty Dom, is a rapist. I'm just gonna say it. So he's been under a lot of heat recently. He's gotten a lot of his sponsorships pulled. He released a first apology video where he basically pushed the blame away from himself and onto his friends. But then he turned off his comments, turned off the like to dislike ratio. So once you do that, you already know you did something wrong.
It
You're in
was
the
on his
wrong.
third channel too, like his third
Yeah,
channel, his podcast channel.
yeah. So he obviously was trying to get attention away from him, and that didn't work as he had multiple sponsorships pulled. And today he released another apology video, a longer one on his first channel, where he took the blame a little bit more, but it was also more of a sympathy sob story video where he started crying. So no one's really falling for that shit because no one likes a rapist. And rapists deserve to go to jail. So David Dobrik, uh,
Stocks are
we're
down, buddy. Your stocks are
very,
down.
very down.
Yeah, I watched that second apology this morning, right before class, and it was very edited. There was a lot of cuts. I mean, it did seem sincere to a certain point, but it only felt like he did it because he lost all his sponsors. He did it. It only started making him cry once he lost stuff, and not when his friends were affected. And he didn't really take credibility in the beginning, like you said in that first video. He just pushed it off the side. He tried to like blame it on other people. He's like, "Oh, I didn't do this. Oh, I didn't do that." So yeah, not a good look for him. Not a very good look for him.
Yeah, obviously, there's a big uprising in women coming out and identifying their accusers, and we're all for that, really.
Yep.
If something happened to you, please don't be scared to say something. We'll support you. Our friends will support you. So there's a community around you, and don't be scared. All right.
Yeah, that's an important message that we want to get out there. Okay, on a more lighter note, we're gonna get into our last segment here on Sports Rivals podcast, and we're gonna talk about our music recs. We did this last episode. We gave a shout out to Miss T. And I'm gonna build off on that with my music recommendation, and I'm gonna recommend "Kids" by Childish Gambino. This song it's like a throwback song, and I actually really like this. When I was in Pennsylvania, in September and October, this is the song that I was listening to a lot, and I really like the song. Very vibey, very catchy. Gambino is awesome. What can I say? And then for my second recommendation, I have "Sky Might Fall" by Kid Cudi. If you guys didn't know, I'm a big Kid Cudi fan, and I feel like this is one of his more underrated songs. Obviously he has "Pursuit of Happiness." He has his new album, "Man on the Moon 3," and I feel like "Sky Might Fall" from the first "Man on the Moon" is actually one of his best songs.
Yeah. So I had "Heartless" by Roddy Ricch, which was first performed by him at the Grammys. I think it was a really heartfelt song. Really cool to see it live in person from the Grammys, and obviously on Spotify and Apple Music, they have that recorded version from the first Grammy performance. So I really like that song, and it's new. So hopefully you guys will take a listen to it and appreciate it just as much as I did.
Yeah, guys, make sure to check out these songs. They're absolute fire. Okay, so that's gonna wrap it up for the Sports Rivals podcast for today. We did a mock draft. We talked about the Giants. We talked about some up and down stories. But yeah, that's gonna do it. If you enjoyed, please leave a like on the video. Make sure to share this with your friends. We're trying to build something here. And yeah, that's gonna do it. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.